Just sorting out some feather runners. Unfortunately, the feather runners that we had selected, both of them are not feeling well, so we're just checking with another youth. We'll start in about 5 minutes, so once we just sort the feather runner issue out. Legislators, we're ready to go into our ceremonial procession. Our respective relative Jessica Adams is going to start us off with the feather running, and then my cousin Isaac Williams is going to step up into his previous feather runner role and support us for the evening. He just needs some time to go home and clean up. But Jessica will pass the feather to him once he arrives. Heichka. Oh, CM, thank you so much for that heartbeat and bringing us in together, unifying us as one. Good evening, everyone. Oopsie, my glasses. Do I need them or don't I need them? Good gravy. Welcome, legislatures, staff members, and guests, and Tsawwassen members. Here we are already at Thursday. I hope that you had a nice day in between our last session and are ready to tackle the important work that we have in front of us today. I first like to thank Tsawwassen for blessing the table to make sure that we do things in a good way before we nourish our bodies, and extend another haichka to Wapio and Kwikimasot, Frank Campbell and Angeline Splotkin for drumming us in. I really like that unifying work, that drum beat, their voices, and their song for us. I'd like to thank Chris Ramsey Catering, for providing that very wonderful and delicious meal for us tonight. This evening marks the, oh gee, I can't remember what number 4 is, the 4th meeting of our spring 2025 session. As with every session, we have a lot of important matters to discuss, and I'm looking forward to hearing your input, your curious thoughts, and your questions about the budget that we're tabling. But before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I would like to invite my cousin and relative, Jessica Adams, to open our meeting with a prayer. She's also acting as interim feather runner until our feather runner gets here. So Jessica, could you please pass the feather to yourself?
Haichka Squeakle and Haichka Feather Runner. I just wanted to say Haichka as well for allowing me to do this work and start our evening in a good way. Tiwial u Quanthat ta Swayal at Sitzal Siam Skleets sit thama natsach u achwastoch tanawael. Skleets sit thama u achwastoch tatamuch u thait na schwamitst. Skleets sit thama u achwastoch na schwalakwatst u schwet tana tamuch. Nu na schwalakwatst ata pelican ni llach ata tswael. Na schwalakwatst ata haathachan niuch imich ata tamuch u sta'a ta chlimanach. Na schwalakwatst ata quatum niuch hatam ata chatza stalau I quakqua. Skleetst thama sietzalt siam u achimatoth tath Chwayam I satsawatoth ata yaist u hlakantwaltoth Wael Quent. O noble one above, Creator, we thank you first for giving us this day. We wish to thank you for giving us the earth upon which we make our home. We wish to thank you for giving us our brethren who share our home with us, our brethren of the feathers who fly the skies above, our brethren of the forelegs who walk the earth as we do, and our finned brethren who swim in the lakes, rivers, oceans that surround us. We wish to ask you, Creator, to lend us your strength to assist us in the tasks that are laying before us this day. Haichka, Creator.
Oh, Siam. Thank you so much, Jessica, for opening our session in a good way. Thank you for sharing the gift of our language so that we can be grounded in the language of our ancestors who used to speak this freely and communicate freely. And each time our language is spoken, we pick up a word or two here and there, and it allows us to stay connected to our culture and our history. As I mentioned earlier, Isaac Williams is going to be the feather runner, and he will be here shortly. And I'd like to extend a great thank you to Jessica for being the interim feather runner, and would like to extend our gratitude to Isaac for stepping up and answering the call to step in and be the feather runner. He's got a legacy of experience, one of our first feather runners when he was just a wee one, and now he is a young man. So it's nice to see that he is ready to step in and support that work. I would like to extend my support and our prayers to our young youth who were not able to join us tonight and had to step aside, Ryder and Dayton. Thank you. We're grateful that they offered to be there for us, but we just wish them prayers of wellness and health. Before we go into our agenda, I would like to remind the legislatures, whether the feather runner is Jessica or Isaac, and staff, to wait until they have the feather before they speak, and to return the feather back to the feather runner when they're finished speaking. Another reminder about our cell phones. We all know that I prefer to have them on silent, so we make sure that you put cell phone 1 on silent and cell phone 2 on silent. Haichka. Thank you, thank you. We were noticing that Halkamatia was not in our ceremonial procession, and she's always here, and she is attending another Tsawwassen obligation in her role as a board member for the Natsamat Tribal Council, and as soon as that meeting is finished, she will join us. So I just want to give that message to everybody. We have a very busy evening tonight. Last Thursday, we deferred the motions to send schedules 1, 2, 6, and 8 to third reading. We will therefore begin this meeting with hearing the second report from the Advisory Council, which covers those schedules. I will then provide a brief refresher on the presentations for schedules 1, 2, 6, and 8, and we will resume the process of moving each of those schedules with a motion to third reading. Then we will hear a presentation on the strategic plan update. Then we will have the second reading of Schedule 4, Local Government Lands and Planning. Next, we have the second reading of Schedule 5, Community Safety and Enforcement. And lastly, last piece of work for the evening, we'll have the second reading of Schedule 11, Members' Lands and Municipal Services. Are there any questions for tonight's agenda from the legislators? Wonderful, thank you. Well, let's move forward on our business. First on the agenda is the report from Advisory Council on Bill 001, 2025. I'd like to invite the Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, to present this report. Mark?
Heichka as Kriegel CM, Heichka Jessica as an interim feather runner. Just wanted her to know, Squiggle CM, that at TFN interim means at least 2 years. So the report from Advisory Council is here for legislators to take into account consideration when deliberating Bill 001, 2025, the 2025-2026 Appropriations Act. Last night, from 5:30 to 7:30, Advisory Committee met to discuss the bill. There were 13 members in attendance, which I think is one of the highest numbers of members in attendance, and I'd like to think it was because of budget. But there were 5 elected members of Advisory Council there too, so there was quorum, and a formal meeting was held. We presented a summarized version of Schedules 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 12. And when I say we, it was me, and very grateful to the Director of Member Services, Crystal Gurniak, who also presented. So Advisory Council has submitted a number of considerations. In Schedule 2, in Schedule 1, where the new project is being funded for a review of the historical records, there was a question about where the records were stored and whether any records are actually in the possession of members that maybe should be brought into this project. Staff replied that most of our records are in secure offsite storage. We're not aware of any members that might have historical records at home, but if you do, please reach out to our manager of government services, Jen Johnson, and let us know, because we should really be incorporating all relevant records into this project. Also in Schedule 1, under the finance side, there was a question about the cost of investment advice, and we clarified that the investment advice that we pay to the actual investors of our funds are taken off the net returns before we record those. And so, if we have an 8% return, that's 8% after deduction of management expenses. The number that is in our budget is a number that we pay to the advisors who act as the interim connection between staff and the very technical information that's provided by the actual fund managers. So just to clarify that. The members also, in speaking to the member distributions budget and the potential for payments out of the Legacy Trust, asked about whether there was any consideration to increasing the current 60%. Staff indicated that this is a pretty complex process. We'll likely need a referendum of TFN members, and did say that we would bring this forward to the directors of the Trust Society for their consideration when the audit's done. It's not going to happen for this year, but if it is to happen, a significant process will be required. That same schedule includes the cost of member financial benefits, Schedule 8, and there was a question about whether the homeowner insurance can be, it's currently $500 per member if you're not an elder, and that's the same whether you rent or own. The cost of ownership of home insurance for homeowners is considerably higher than the cost of insurance for renters. And so there was a question about whether this could be taken back for consideration by Executive Council and the policy given some amendment. And we've said that that will be brought forward to Executive Council for consideration. There was a question also in this schedule about funds that are provided for memorial ceremonies. The staff provided whatever information we could. Some further research is likely to be needed to determine how the policy is applied in very specific circumstances, and some of the questions were a little bit more detailed than we had answers for that night. The Schedule 9, which is the program that includes things like the recreation services, was something that was commented on in particular. I won't make any jokes about sort of the middle-age group because they were now being called the in-betweeners, I think. So not the youth and not the elders, but the group in between, and the fact that we've increased services there, and there was a recognition and thanks for that consideration expressed by the attendees at the Advisory Council meeting. Within the section on, so I think it's Schedule 10, the section on supports to the community, there was a question about accessing the food bank, whether there were criteria for that. And staff were able to confirm that this is income-based. Members are referred to the program by community services staff. Those budgets also included the investigation of a justice diversion program. There were some questions around whether the justice diversion program was for youth only or for all members, and it was clarified that this was meant to cover all members where the crimes are not of a serious nature. There was a question about whether our budget in Schedule 10 included Indigenous healers. It used to. That budget has now been moved to the language and culture budget. So we still have the money available. It's just moved from one pocket to another. There was a question about the respite home and whether it's operational or not. And it currently isn't because there are no residents who require that support. We have spent the money to build homes because there were grants available for the construction, and it made sense to take advantage of that. Staff will be looking at how best to program the various support homes, whether we need 2 or 1, and whether a home can be repurposed for other uses. The health budget also spoke to increased clinical operations and the doctor who's now providing service to TFN members. And there was a question from a member offlands about whether there could be assistance to help them find doctors, because it is a challenge throughout the country, and staff will look into that situation. There was a question about where the funds that are paid to TFN from the Vancouver Port Authority for the agreements that have been negotiated with the Port Authority for Roberts Bank terminal, and those are accounted for in Schedule 11, Territory Management. And then finally, in looking at the natural resources budget, there was a question about obtaining prawns for food distribution, and staff passed on that that is being considered by the Natural Resources Department and is likely going to need some negotiations to ensure that we have our rights are set out for collection. And so as Squeakle CM, that concludes the report. Happy to answer any questions that legislators may have. Heichka.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing the feedback from the Advisory Council. I'd like to extend gratitude to the Advisory Council for their thoughtful questions and inquiries about the schedules that they were reviewing. I'd like to open up the floor to ask legislators if they need any clarifying questions about this report. Legislature Tequila, Bryce Williams.
Heichka Squeakle CM and Heichka Isaac for the Feather. Good to see you back here. No questions, just a comment, Squeakle. Just a lot of good things in this report in terms of questions and ideas. And I look forward to EC looking into these needs and wants and inquiries. So thank you to the advisory committee for all of their input. Heichka.
Heichka Legislature. All right. Now moving on to our next item. We will have the scheduled motions that we were unable to move last week now. Now that we've heard the report from the Advisory Council to inform our decisions. As we all agree and appreciate, the Advisory Council is an essential component to our Tsawwassen governing structures, being able to hear and implement the needs and the concerns of our community into our Tsawwassen laws and policies. My hands go up to all the legislators who caught this mix-up in our last Tuesday's session and made sure that we could listen to our Advisory Council feedback before we made any decisions on any schedules. For each individual schedule, the process is going to be as follows. We will have a brief refresher of the schedule's main points and concerns discussed in last Thursday's session. Please note that the floor will not be open to discuss the schedule further. Then I will read the motion to move the schedule to third reading. Basically, I'm just pausing from what we would have done. We would have finished our questioning and we would have moved right into the motion. So while we had a day in between, I'm going to act as if there was no time in between. We will repeat this process until schedules 1, 2, 6, and 8 are moved or not moved to the third reading. And now we'll begin a recap of Schedule 1 and then conduct a motion to send it to third reading. And we will continue to do this with Schedules 2, 6, and 8. So Schedule 1 recap. The Finance and Government Services Schedule of Bill 001-2025 covers the governance and legislative services, human resources, information technology, finance, and legal departments. The presenters last week were the Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, Manager of Government Services, Jen Jansen, Manager of IT, Brad Smedella, Manager of Human Resources, David Desamoro, and finally, General Counsel Mary Childs. The 2025-2026 budget for government services, government and legislative services is $2,989,256, which is a decrease from the 2024-2025 budget of $3,271,297. The 2025-2026 budget for human resources services is $1,163,362, which is a very slight decrease from the 2024-2025 year, which was $1,134,820. The 2025-2026 budget for information technology is $2,486,883, which is an increase from the 2024-2025 budget of $2,074,726. The 2025-2026 budget for finance is $1,919,000 even, which is a slight increase by $41,000 from the budget, the 2024-2025 budget. The 2025-2026 budget for legal is $1,464,738, which is a slight decrease from the 2024-2025 budget, which was $1,472,488. We've already discussed and debated this schedule last Thursday session, and I'm going to move straight to the motion for the Schedule 1 to move it to third reading. I will ask for a mover, and then I will ask for a seconder, and then I will ask for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 1, the Finance and Government Services Schedule of Bill 001-2023 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. Whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. Whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001-2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 1, the Finance and Government Services Schedule, to third reading. May I have a mover, please? Legislature Cassidy. May I have a seconder, please? Legislature LaQualia, Tia Williams. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. All opposed? Aichka? Motion carried. Thank you, legislatures, for that work. Move on to the next schedule. Schedule 2 recap. I now turn to do a recap of Schedule 2, the Policy, Strategy, and Communication Schedule of Bill 001-2025. This schedule used to cover policy and government services, but now covers policy and intergovernmental affairs and communications and engagement. The presenters of this schedule were Manager of Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs, Twyla Smith, and Manager of Communications, Callum Robinson. The 2025-2026 budget for Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs is $1,685,757, which is up from the 2024-2025 budget, which was $1,358,105. The increase in budget is primarily a core increase due to an increase in staffing, which includes a TFN member. This schedule also includes a new strategic initiative department. TFN is currently recruiting for a new director of strategic initiatives, and this will provide them with some budget to work with once they are hired. The budget for communication and engagements for the 2025-2026 year is $512,938. This is a new department, so there is no past budget to reflect on. I will now read the motion to move Schedule 2 to third reading, and then ask for a mover and a seconder, and then call for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 2, the Policy, Strategy, and Communication Schedule, Bill 001-2025, to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature, under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act, must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 2, the Policy, Strategy, and Communication Schedule, to third reading. May I have a mover, please? Legislature Marianne. May I have a seconder, please? Legislature Taylor Baker. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I'm sorry, all in favor, can you raise your hand high, please? All right, thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, where are we now? Well, thank you, legislatures, as we work through this catch-up work. Schedule 6 recap. I now turn to do a recap of Schedule 6, the taxation schedule of Bill 001, 2025. This schedule was presented by Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, and covers local government taxation and member government taxation. The budget for local government taxation for the 2025-2026 year is $2,205,000. This is an increase from the 2024-2025 budget, which was $1,805,000. Reminder that this budget is for the levies that TFN collects on behalf of other government agencies, so these amounts are 100% flow through. The 2025-2026 budget for member government taxation is $750,000, which is the same as the 2024-2025 budget. I will now read the motion to move Schedule 6 to third reading. Ask for a mover, ask for a seconder, and then call for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 6, the taxation schedule of Bill 001, 2025 to third reading. The Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 6, the taxation schedule, to the third reading. May I have a mover, please? Legislature Marianne Adams. May I have a seconder? Legislature and Chief Laura Cassidy. All in favor? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, legislatures. Schedule 8 recap. Lastly, I now do a recap on Schedule 8, the Member Financial Benefit Schedule of Bill 001, 2025. This schedule was presented by Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, and covers local government taxation and member government taxation. The budget for member financial benefits is for the 2025-2026 year, which is $1,053,000. This is a slight increase from the 2024-2025 budget, which was $1,037,000. There is a decrease in expenses for the Elder Benefit Program due to a smaller number of people hitting the age milestones to receive elder benefits. However, this is offset by an increase in expenses for the Child Benefit Program due to an increase in the number of member children. I will now read the motion to move Schedule 8 to third reading, call for a mover and a seconder, and then call for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 8, the Member Financial Benefit Schedule of Bill 001, 2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. Whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. Whereas the legislature resolved on February 11th, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during the second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 8, the Member Financial Benefits Schedule, to third reading. May I have a mover, please? Legislature Laqualia Tita Williams, a seconder. Legislature Paliquia Don Williams, all in favor? Thank you. Legislatures, motion passed unanimously. Thank you, legislatures. Again, apologies for a little bit of that mix-up and how we typically conduct our business. But we are now back on our regular schedule. And as we move forward, we'll proceed as we normally do. So thank you very much. Now we can move to the part of the agenda where we are going to hear an update on the TFN strategic plan. I'd now like to invite Twyla Smith, Manager of Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs, to give this presentation. Twyla?
Haichka Squeakle and Haichka to the Feather Runner. It's nice to see you again, Isaac. Happy tonight to be presenting on the 2025 to 2030 strategic plan. So we're going to start with just a little bit of context. We'll talk a little bit about the strategic framework overall, a little bit about the new charter, and then we'll get a little bit into the strategic plan content as well. So in terms of context, what this slide shows is really a lot of growth and evolution of your government. So the first strategic plan after effective date of the treaty was guiding a budget of about 20 million and a staff of about 44. Fast forward to 2024, and our strategic plans are guiding budgets around 140, although this year's is a little bit less than that, and nearly 200 staff. So really just point that out because your government has evolved so much, and that means the strategic framework that's in place to guide the government operations also has had to evolve. So what that has looked like, hopefully most of you are familiar with the new Honoring Our Ancestors Charter. That sets out the long-term vision and desired outcomes for the nation. So desired outcomes is like an objective or a goal. It says the future state that we're trying to get to. So that means that we no longer have to redo visioning every 5 years when we do a strategic plan. And the strategic plan itself can be a bit more action-oriented, and it's really about how can we move towards that long-term vision in the next 5 years. At the same time, the strategic plan is not locking TFN government into actions where decisions have not been made. So this table has decision-making powers. Executive Council has decision-making powers. It's not the job of a document to do that for you. Those things still exist. So really what the strategic plan and the charter do is they act as guiding lights to the more detailed annual processes, and they provide a way for all staff to stay connected with the community engagement that we've done to talk to members about what you'd like to see for the long term as well as in the next 5 years. So hopefully some of you remember this graphic. It's one I've used a few times. And it really just shows the framework overall for all the different products and documents that are guiding TFN. So up at the top of the pyramid, you're going to have things with a little less detail. So the vision, the values, the long-term goals. We see that really in the Honoring Our Ancestors Charter. Of course, that comes from the treaty and Tsawwassen law, the Declaration of Identity and Nationhood as well. The medium and short-term goals, that's where the 5-year strategic plan comes in. We also have mandates set by Executive Council. The land use plan is another kind of longer-term plan. Then as you come down, you're getting more and more detail. So we also have topic-specific strategies and plans. So that's things like the community safety strategy. Often staff are working on complex issues, and we really need to dive deep and create strategies and plans that really are much more detailed than what we can do in this higher level plan. So we see quite a bit of those. We've got an integrated rainwater management plan. We have an industrial land strategy. There's quite a few of those more detailed plans, and many of those were already developed and in place as we were working on this strategic plan. And I'm sure there will be a few more to come as we implement this plan as well. Then, of course, we have our annual budget and work plans. That's really where the rubber hits the road and what you all are here to do to really breathe life into the strategic plan and implement these plans. And then, of course, all the way down at the bottom, we have our policies and procedures, the way we deliver capital projects and the frontline services. So the Honoring Our Ancestors Charter is set up with a guiding principle, which is language, culture, and healing, and that's woven throughout. And then there are 6 theme areas. So education and livelihood, ecosystem and stewardship, complete communities, assets and infrastructure, economic prosperity and food security, health, wellness and safety, and governance. There are 51 desired outcomes under those themes, and that's more high-level goals than we've ever had in a TFN strategic plan. So even at the kind of most action-y level of detail, I think there was only like 48 in the last plan, and we already have more desired outcomes at that higher level. So just again, showing the evolution, the maturity of this framework. In terms of how we developed this plan, so we actually started quite a few years ago now at the 2022 members gathering. You might remember we reviewed progress on the previous strategic plan, and we talked about what gap areas were seen and where things had gone well as well. At the 2023 members gathering, we did some exercises in small groups to brainstorm actions and strategies under different theme areas. Then throughout winter 2023-24, we had family meetings to engage on the periodic review, and we heard really a lot of significant feedback on the institutions, programs, and services that really fed into this plan. And I do want to make a little plug here. There's going to be a series of family meetings coming in the next, end of March into the beginning of April. So staff are going to be reaching out to book those, and I have to say those family meetings that I did last winter were just such rich conversations. I learned so much from the membership and got to meet quite a few members I hadn't met before. So just really want to encourage you when staff reach out to take one of those meetings, because it's so helpful for us staff to hear from you in those forums. Throughout 2024, we did a session on lands. We did one online, one in Bellingham and Vernon, to review the potential actions that we had drafted and discuss priority areas. So really, I think every single action in this plan started as something that we heard from members. Sometimes we grouped things together, that sort of thing, but everything in here was something that we heard from the membership. In terms of the content of the plan, as I mentioned, the purpose of the plan is to guide TFN government toward those 51 desired outcomes with strategies that can be progressed in the next 5 years. I want to mention that the themes don't neatly align with departments, although some departments are going to find their work wholly or mostly within one theme. And the reason for that is that, first of all, it aligns with the charter, but also, it allows for departments to evolve and change over time too. So if we did a plan that was, this department's going to do this and this department's going to do that, if there's organizational changes, it starts to break down. Sorry, did I skip the first bullet there? They're organized under the same 6 themes and guiding principle as the charter. And the desired outcomes from the charter are actually copied into the plan itself. So we did this because we really wanted to keep alignment between the charter and the strategic plan, to keep everybody paddling in the same direction. This is really about making sure that we all know what we're working on. The themes are intertwined, so an action may support multiple themes. That also means that you might be looking at, say, the section on ecosystem, and you're thinking about something about fish. It might actually be in the food security section. So just to say that they support each other. And this is still really a strategic level document that must be supported by more detailed work plans within each department. But of course, it's grounded in the community engagement. I got ahead of myself on that point. So what's actually in the plan? I think there's over 100 actions, so I won't put you through the pain of me reading out each of them tonight. But I did want to cover a little bit of what's in each of the theme areas. So under culture, language, and healing, we have actions related to language education and revitalization, promoting Tsawwassen culture and identity, building cultural connections amongst families and with those who have been disconnected, and protecting ancestors and their belongings. Under the governance theme, we have actions related to leadership and institutions, external partnerships, such as those with Canada, BC, other First Nations, municipalities, and leaseholders, our human resources function, as well as our communications and engagement. Under the health, wellness, and safety theme, we have actions related to culturally appropriate healthcare and wellness supports, as well as mental health and healing supports, the fitness and recreation functions. We have there the community safety and access to justice, as well as the child and family services. Then under ecosystem and stewardship, you'll find actions related to stewarding the lands and waters, exercising fishing and harvesting rights, fighting and adapting to climate change. And that's where you'd find the territory management teams working on projects in the territory as well. Under economic prosperity and food security theme, you'll find actions related to food security, the agricultural lands, economic development, and the nation's financial management. And then under complete communities, assets, and infrastructure, we have actions related to housing, community facilities, infrastructure, placemaking, the built environment, ensuring that it reflects TFN culture, and managing lands for future generations. And then under the education and livelihood theme, we have actions related to education, training, employment supports, social assistance, and integrating culture and traditional knowledge in education. So as you can see, even from the descriptions of the themes, there's just so many different things that your government is working on. And it's honestly really amazing to think about all these in one place and just experience talking to members about all of these different things too. In terms of implementation, so as I said, this isn't binding. It doesn't represent decisions that have been made. Those decisions still have to be made by the appropriate bodies. But really, the leaders and the staff will look to the charter and to this plan to stay aligned and connected to the community and everything that we're doing, especially in our budgeting and work planning processes. Many of the actions in here are already started, but some are new and they're going to need consideration on how to deliver. One of the things I heard from our directors team is that external partners play a role too. And so even if we do have an action in here that we really want to achieve, sometimes we're reliant on others. So that's worth mentioning. And then in our reporting, so we will be reporting annually on this strategic plan in the annual report. And we'll do that through both storytelling as well as data indicators. And then the evaluation project, which I mentioned during my budget presentation, will really help us build a more detailed measurement strategy with this kind of framework of the charter and the plan to think about. So as was done in 2018 with the last plan, we have a motion that will be introduced next week for the legislature to endorse the strategic plan. If you want to, of course, happy to answer questions today, although I may have to write them down and look at my document on the side while others speak, because I know what's in here, but I don't have a control F in my brain, unfortunately. But if you'd like to talk with me about anything you see in the plan, I really would encourage you to reach out. My contact info is there, but it's also on the Tsawwassen website, so you can find it there. Because I just want to acknowledge that this is the first time you've received it today, and I want to give you a chance, make sure you have a chance to look through it and read it and let it sink in a bit before we're asking you to make any decisions. Heitske.
Heitske Twyla for the presentation and all the information. There are an immense amount of data collection and engagement to create this strategic plan. First, I'd like to welcome Halka Mattia to the table, Legislator Louise Alm. Thank you for being here. I know that it makes for a hectic day going from one to the other, so I hope you have a moment to sort of breathe and catch up. And just ask staff if you need any help to orient yourself, Heitske. I'd like to open up the table to legislators for any questions that you might have about the strategic plan that Twyla has just presented. Legislator Kuakua, Andrea Jacobs.
Hajka Isaac for the Feather and Hajko Squeakle CM. Thank you, Twyla, for that presentation. I really enjoyed looking at, and I know we've seen it before, but I often forget, the strategic framework. So looking at honoring our ancestors' charter and then going down from there. I know there's a lot of other plans floating around at TFN, and I often wonder and get a little concerned about how they all connect. And I just think it's really important. I know that everybody has, I just think it's important to move together as Tawasin, as a group, and having all these plans work and having it on paper is good. But I just really enjoyed seeing that, and I like how we're moving forward this way. And Hajka again for having family meetings. I just think that's so important. Hajka, Squeakle him.
Hajka, thank you so much for your comments, Legislature Kuyakuya. Just as a reminder that the strategic plan is uploaded onto the SharePoint site if you need to look at it. And for those of you, I'm sure that if you needed a hard copy, you just need to ask staff. And I'm a computer illiterate person, and I love looking at stuff on my computer, but there are a few documents that I like to have printed out. And so if you need that, please don't hesitate to reach out to staff for that. Legislature Sultanat, Loretta Williams.
Hajka for the Feather, and thank you, Squeakle. It's just a comment. I just want to say thank you for all of this. And you got to be organized to put everything into the 2 documents. That's all it is. Just thank you.
Hajka Legislature. Are there any other thoughts or questions or curiosities about the strategic plan? A reminder that we'll be having a motion to approve it moving forward on March 4th. So, take some time to be familiar with it. We've all been engaged at different places, but it's nice to see it come together in one document. I'll offer any other opportunities for any other questions from any of the legislatures or comments. Well, Twyla, I think you got off easy here. You've got nothing but compliments. I think that you're getting the feel and the pulse of our nation and how to collect information and feedback and how to translate that into information that reflects the information, the data that you've received, and really appreciate recognizing how important it is to connect with our community and conduct those family meetings. I'm glad that you and other staff find them rich and fulfilling and rewarding. It really is a great way to stay connected. So, Hajka, thank you so kindly. All right, Schedule 4, Local Government Lands Planning, Schedule Bill 001, 2025. We're moving on to our second item, the second reading of this item as well. This is the opportunity for debating the substance and the merit of Schedules 4, 5, and 11 tonight. And you may share your thoughts and your questions about the schedule. And I'd now like to invite our Director of Lands, Komal, to present Schedule 4. Komal? Welcome. It's good to see you, Komal, and thank you for bringing your work to the table for the legislatures to consider, discuss, and debate. Hajka.
Hajka Squeakle CM. Hajka Isaac. Very happy to present tonight Schedule 4, lands planning, the planning schedule for local government that used to be Schedule 3B in previous years. Next slide, please. Oh, wonderful. There you go. Thank you, Jen. I couldn't resist making these blobs because blobs make my world go round, like Excel sheets for Mark. Different strokes for different folks. I just wanted to share how our lands department teams work and how those are addressed in our budget schedule. and what are the changes from last year. So under the lands department, previously we had under Schedule 3B, development planning, what we called lands planning administration. Then we had a subsection called building inspections and bylaw compliance. And then policy planning and projects was the fourth one that rounded out Schedule 3B. And we also had our member housing team that was reported through Schedule 10. With the renumbering of the schedules, member housing is now in the member land schedule, which is 11. And 3B has gotten a little interesting within itself as well. While we were reorganizing, we thought we'd go the whole way. So now we have a section called Development Planning Services, which combines development planning and building inspections. And enforcement bylaw compliance has moved out to our community safety schedule because we want to try and combine all of our expenditures that are spent on community priorities related to community safety. We had a separate subsection in the previous Schedule 10 for Brunswick Point lands, but now they're part of our Tsawwassen lands jurisdiction as of last year, so they're part of the regular Schedule 4 now, and that part of the budget is called lands management. So that's all of this. And then, unfortunately, we don't have any year-over-year comparisons with all of the changes, so the graphs are cancelled. Overall, there is a 41.6% increase in this budget, and I'll explain the reasons for those increases as we go forward. Within that, the lands management schedule, there is just a minor reduction. There's only less than a 0.5% increase in the development services section. And there's a humongous 356.3% increase in Kevin's part of the budget. He's right there. But I can explain that increase. We're just tracking things a little bit differently. So within lands management, this part is looking after the essentially the business functions of the lands department, lands administration, issuance of business licenses, film permits, dog licenses, all of the good stuff. And that also brings us the local government revenues as well. And we're very efficient. We have a reduction in this budget. The development planning services, this budget is only a 0.5% increase, and that's because we've combined the building inspection part and added it to this budget. But in reality, there's some efficiencies. Over the last 5 years, as we all know, we saw an exponential period of growth and development on the lands, but thankfully that is slowing down now. And we have, for this year, we expect a 26% decrease in revenues, but we are also trying to tighten our budget, and therefore we have a very limited increase in this year's budget. We are not asking for any additional staff positions or any additional programming for the local government side. And then building permits, as we know, is to ensure safety and compliance. We comply with the BC Building Code. And that part of the budget is also included in the local government development services portion. Now for this area, that has the 356% increase. So the main reason for that is that we used to put down a lot of our large expenditures that were not actually buildings, so not projects, but programs or plans in the capital budget up until this year. And we've now made a shift to move these planning studies into the community planning budget. And many of these studies were worked on by our community planning team, but the budget lived in the capital budget. And we've moved this into our operational budget because planning studies are ongoing and sometimes multi-year. And so they're more operational in nature than a one-time expenditure. And that's why we moved those things into the operating budget. So there's a 1.36 million increase. And this comes from a number of different projects. Happy to answer questions on those. But these are community priorities that we've heard throughout the year. We're working on the land use plan update. We're also looking at facilities planning updates as our community grows and evolves. And we're also addressing agricultural studies for Brunswick Point lands that have recently been incorporated in our jurisdiction. As we've heard loud and clear a number of times from our leadership and our community, we need a community traffic safety plan, so we've put aside funds for that. We're also looking to develop a placemaking strategy that can then be translated into actual projects into the capital budget the following year. An example of this is also we're looking for a Coast Salish design for our community housing area bus stops. And I'm happy to say that we've also secured funding from grants of $400,000 for this budget as well. HKCM, happy to take any questions. And before I end, I just wanted to share a few more things. I'm very happy to note that we have a very hardworking team in the Lands Department, and our work in the Lands Department is always guided by the voices of our membership. And we strive to provide more homes, more facilities, and manage our lands in accordance with the wishes of our membership and directions from our leadership. And in that spirit, I wanted to show this film that captures what we heard from our members at the members' gathering as we started the consultation on our land use plan. And it's very appropriate that Isaac is here today because he helped conduct those interviews. And those interviews really brought forward areas of concern and shaped our thinking on the path forward. And as Twyla mentioned, those upcoming family meetings, we'll continue to engage with our community on your priorities for the land use plan update. And we also have other interesting opportunities for members that want to be even more involved. HKCM, just starting with this video.
What do you got? All right, so what do you think of all the developments that have been happening on lands in the last couple of years?
Oh, I think they're great. It's really showcasing what TFN can do, and the future. It is still caught on to some heritage and some lineage, but it's also being very progressive as well. So
I like the variety of things that have come to TFN, and I like that everything looks good and flows well together.
I do like how there's so many new buildings going up, like the new admin, the new elder center, and the new youth center that came up a few years ago. They're like all so nice.
The land's being preserved, but it's also being made into something that I think is going to generate some future, not only wealth, but well-being for a lot of the members. It's the whole farm system, for example, and all of the produce and all of that that's happening so that it gets back to the community. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Well, there's a lot of change that's happening really, really fast. So in hindsight, maybe if we slowed down the pace of change so that we might have some time to adapt, but there's no sense crying over spilt milk or looking down the river for the water that's passed. But I think that it's just helping us adapt to the change, because the change is part of our success as well.
I grew up here, and I remember it was just 6 of us here as kids. There's only 6 of us now. There's like hundreds. So it's different. But I think it's cool. Yeah.
Overload. I think too much too fast.
To a degree, it's okay. Mostly I don't like it, but it's not just here. It's the whole population of the world. Like in the lower mainland there, it's high rises are popping up everywhere. So it's just the way it is.
I think, in my opinion, we could slow down a little bit and enjoy the land a bit more before building on it, and find ways to utilize the more nature part of the land and come together and acknowledge that as just as much as we do as our new buildings and our new areas. It would be great to yeah, just focus on what we have now more.
I definitely don't think we should have another boardwalk. That would ruin our marshland forever.
More children and youth participate in culture events like drumming and like our TFN needs a lot of that, and especially males. We need more males drummers and singers with good voice.
And I wish the Culture Hub was on lands or like on the res, but also I think in the future that there will be a Culture Hub going up on lands.
I like seeing some traditional cultural use of land.
Taking care of what our ancestors told us originally to be taken care of, and of course that's the land, and when I mean the land I mean the waters, I mean the trees, I mean all green spaces. I believe in planting more greenery, reserving places, taking back the bluff, things like that are top on my list. The creatures and the lands together and the waters.
It's important to reclaim nature where we can in the areas where we've had no choice but to develop. We have such a small land mass and limited access to other resources. Land is our economic resource, so we have limited chances to. We have to balance between economic opportunity and creating an economy and balance protecting our resources. I think an expansion of our resources would also help us, and so not just limiting ourselves to the small area that we have, but to expand beyond that to help us build on the resources that we have.
Maybe just some more green space for those migratory birds that used to be able to land around here. I think that would be nice.
I think more natural plants for medicines and more foliage.
I wish we would have more land that we could then occupy more of the things that we would be able to create more park space, more wooded space.
I think I would put more protection on the marshlands. There's a lot of people with animals that they allow onto the marshlands and on the dike area that I think we could put a little bit more security on that area. Just to kind of protect it with our indigenous plants and all of that. And I feel like we could put more communication out there for the leaseholders and everyone to kind of come together more as a huge community to take care of the land, and not just our people and they just inhabit it. It's I think it'd be great for everyone to kind of come together to take care of it.
We need to incorporate more trees, especially cedar trees. There's a shortage of trees in our area, and we need to plant a lot more of them. We need to get a program just to encourage people to plant trees.
I think we have a couple people here, some members that know about hunting, and that would be able to help educate our youth, and even people like me who don't know much. That'd be really cool.
More culture, medicines, how everybody can learn how to make medicines from our plants on land.
I think I'd like to see something based on substance abuse, a program like that for outpatient treatment center or something.
I think a rec building would be cool, with like a building for members where we can go use like the gym. I know there's one at the youth center, but like a bigger gym and like a pool.
You need a fire department.
Another skate park, a rec center, and Starbucks. Closer one.
Another skate park would be great. Yep.
It would be nice if TFN had their own gym. But I know they have the one in the youth center, but it is fairly small and can only have, I think 3 people maximum in there at a time.
Maybe less non-member homes and push them away a little bit more. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
The leaseholds are a bit close, but that's nothing we can do.
Around the administration buildings and around residential and around the sports field, there needs to be definitely a lot more parking.
More parking for sure, for sure.
We'd like to see roundabouts, more speed bumps, especially with the community. That's what it needs around here. It's more speed bumps to make it a little more safe for people who's walking.
I'd say probably add some more sidewalks,
especially because I bike around down here a lot. So adding either like a shared pathway would work really well, just safer and stuff like that.
Maybe you could adopt some of the Eastern European ways of shutting down the roads and doing foot or bike only. That'd be pretty cool.
I would like to see more lighting and sidewalks. I'd like to see our parts of our nation look more like the newer developments. I feel like our people deserve that.
HKCM.
Thank you so much, Kamal, for sharing that, and Isaac for interviewing all of us and asking all the questions and being determined. It was good to hear some of the feedback and the engagement that was provided during those interviews. Kamal, do you have any wrap-up comments or follow-up comments?
Speaker CM, I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Legislators, I'd now like to open up the floor for questions, comments, thoughts for Kamal's schedule. Legislators? Legislator Tequila? Bryce Williams?
Haicha Kamal for the presentation, Haicha Squeakle CM, and Haicha Isaac for the feather. Just a couple quick questions on the community planning, the agricultural study for Brunswick Point lands. Just curious if that work is done with ECDEV, and curious that I forget where we might be with potentially looking at some short-term leases to put in place there with local farmers. I'm not too sure if I forget if that's being considered or not. So if you could refresh my memory on that, that'd be awesome. And also curious if there's, I guess, any consideration of greenhouses. I know that we're in early stages here, but just wondering if we're thinking about that kind of stuff. Haicha.
Thank you for the question, Legislator Kamal.
Haichka Isaac, Haichka Squeakle CM, and Haichka Legislator Williams for the question. For the agricultural study on Brunswick Point lands, a number of years ago, we conducted an agricultural economic study, but at the time, we didn't have jurisdiction over the lands, and so that limited our ability to do some of those big things. And we will be working closely with economic development on long-term plans for the lands. Because the lands weren't in our jurisdiction, we had the very low-yielding year-over-year leases over there. Also, in terms of greenhouse development, we have two sort of initial experiences. We have the very small greenhouse set up on our own community farm this year, and we want to see how that works out for us. And I know that Ryan is engaged in some conversations about a greenhouse on the Boundary Bay lands as well. So definitely something to look to in the new year.
Thank you so much, Kamal. Legislator Sultanat, Loretta Williams.
Haichka for the feather. Thank you, Squeakle, and thanks, Kamal. A comment and a question. The question is, how many staff members do you have in the lands in this department? And then the other is, oh, lost it, sorry. You know, like we're getting all these, got 200 employees, and you know, parking is a big issue. So is this part of the community planning? Make sure there's plenty of parking, and especially in all the buildings that are happening. Okay, Haichka.
Haichka Legislator Kamal.
Haichka Squeakle CM, Haichka Legislator Sultanat, and Haichka Isaac. We have, including housing, so I've spread across schedules 4 and 11. We have 30 employees in the lands, 30 in the lands team. And we are definitely, as part of our facilities plan update and a community safety plan from like a road safety perspective, we are looking at the parking space deficiencies along Tuason Drive, and we're also ensuring that we put in enough towards the future buildings such as our Elder Center and the planning stages the new administration building as well, because we do recognize that it is important to have adequate parking to ensure pedestrian safety and community safety. Haichka.
Haichka for the question and for the response. Legislators, any other questions, curious comments? Legislator Kuyakuya, Andrea Jacobs.
Haichka, Squiquelsiam. I was really happy to see that we're looking at co-salish designs for the bus stops. Just really important, going back to working with our artists and young ones for that. Our young ones are up-and-comers too, so that's really cool. But I'm also wondering, I see placemaking in here. I don't know if much has been happening on placemaking, but I'm wondering if where we are with signs. Like, it's been years since I've seen I mean, we haven't had any TFN signs, no signages for any of our entrances ways, and I know it was in the plan, and maybe that was put on hold for a reason. Just wondering where we're at with that. It would be cool to have that. I'm sure it's in the plan somewhere. Haichka.
Oh, Haichka for that question, Kuyakuya, the entrance signs and such. Komal?
Haichka Squiquelsiam and Haichka for the question. In terms of placemaking, for the past year, our focus has been mainly on the signage for the outside portions of the Elder Center. We want to make sure we put in place storyboards working with our artists in the Elder Center precinct, and we also focused on developing the cenotaph as part of the Elder Center precinct, because we want to make sure we have a proper place to honor our veterans. And this year's focus will be on developing those high priority items like the signage, entrance signage to the community, and other initiatives involving youth artists like the community banners and such that we weren't able to work on for the last couple of years. So hopefully that comes to life this year. Haichka.
Kuyakuya, thank you, Komal. Legislator Kuyakuya, do you have a follow-up?
Thank you so much. I don't mean to put more on, but I think it's great. And I look forward to having not only just welcome sign, but territorial signs as well. Just letting people know that they are on Tsawwassen territory. It is to be respected. Especially people who are come and park and walk on our boardwalks and all sorts of things. So thank you for that, Komal. I know you guys are super busy. But you also just, you mentioned the cenotaph. Is there work in, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
I'm
Please
really
proceed.
curious. Is that true that's happening at the Elder Center? it's the first time I'd heard that.
Haichka Kuyakuya, Komal, can you talk about the cenotaph?
Haichka Squiquelsiam, Haichka Isaac, Haichka for the question. Yes, we are. The cenotaph was part of our last capital plan, and we were looking for an appropriate location, and at that same time we were developing the area plan for the Elder Center, and we thought it would be a wonderful place to honor our elders that have passed. And so that will be part of the outside portion of the Elder Center. There's a specific area for the cenotaph, a seating area, area where we can lay wreaths, and that's all part of the Elder Center just being completed. And the landscape works are being finalized as we speak, but within the month or so, we should have the outside landscaping finished, and the cenotaph is part of that. Haichka Siam.
Haichka, thank you so much, Komal. Maybe we could send Legislator Kuyakuya some renderings or, to show the layout. And then if anybody wants to offer a tour to see that and see where it is, it's pretty much laid out. So just to give you a refresher on, or for the first time, to take a look at that. So so you can sort of see it in your mind's eye. So if we could send a documentation, that would be great. Legislator Lacolia, Tia Williams.
Haichka Squiquel, Haichka Isaac for the Feather, and thanks for your presentation, Komal. I don't recall if you mentioned, but what phase or have you begun the community traffic safety plan yet? I'd pass the other.
Haichka Legislature Como.
Haichka Squiggle CM, Haichka Isaac, and Haichka for the question. That is something that we've just begun because that is the direction that we've received from our community safety strategy. And through that consultation on the overall issues about community safety, the physical safety piece came as a something that required to be worked on immediately, and that's why we put that down as a priority in the budget for this year. So we haven't begun any work, but because we were updating our facilities plan anyway, it sits well with that, and we can look at the overall pieces that are missing. And we also heard those priorities at our members gathering, as you saw in the video. Haichka.
Haichka, any further questions for Komal on her presentation on this schedule? Kuyakua, did you have a follow-up for that Seventh Tath? You kind of looked like you still had some thoughts going on. Legislature Kuyakua, Andrea Jacobs.
Haichka Squeakle CM. I know that a cenotaph has been talked about in our community a lot, especially on Indigenous Veterans Day for families, especially that have that. So just looking forward to that, and I think it's great. I just want to say that I think it's really great that it's in the plans, and I look forward to any meetings or anything that come out of that for those plans as well, because I think our community, it's something really great to do. Haichka.
Well, CM Haichka. Any further questions from any legislators? Legislator Laquolia, Tia Williams. I knew if I waited long enough, somebody would gather their thoughts together. It's a lot of information to take in, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to gather your thoughts.
Haichka Squeakle, Haichka Isaac. Can legislators get a tour of the Elder Center? Thanks.
Haichka Legislator Como, can you share with us what the plans are for that?
Haichka Squeakle CM, Haichka Isaac, and Haichka for the question. For sure, we can do that. I think we were just working on some deficiencies in the project, and we were able to organize a sneak peek for our executive council before the holidays, but I think we are closer to being able to open the building for tours, and we'd be very happy to put something in place for our legislators, for sure. Haichka.
Haichka for that question, Legislator Tia. And thank you for offering that, Komal. I'll leave it to staff to coordinate and arrange an appropriate time, maybe before this legislative session is out, maybe before dinner or something earlier. Any other further comments, questions, curiosities, legislators? Haichka Komal, to you and your team, thank you for putting together this presentation, making it as informative and clear and transparent, and answering the questions. Thank you, legislators, for your questions and your comments regarding this schedule. I would now, I would now like to read the motion to move Schedule 4 to third reading. I will then ask for a mover and a seconder, and then call for a vote. Motioned to move Schedule 4, the Local Government Lands Planning Schedule of Bill 001, 2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature, under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act, must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. Whereas the Legislature resolves on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 4, the Local Government Lands Planning Schedule, to third reading. May I please have a mover? Legislature Halkamatia, Louise Alm. Seconder, Legislature Tehuilam, Bill Bryce Williams. All in favor, please raise your hand. Schedule has been carried unanimously. Haitchka Legislatures. Shall we call for a small break? 7-minute break? I like that number. Haitchka. Thank you for that 7-minute break. Good work, legislators. We're ready now after we've had a small bit of nourishment, stretched our legs, and sort of visited a little bit. And I think now we're ready to move to Schedule 5, the Community Safety and Enforcement Schedule of Bill 001, 2025. I would now like to invite Mark DeMello, the Director of Finance, and I forget what the second part of his new department is, but Mark DeMello?
Can I have to raise that a bit? So the Community Safety and Enforcement Schedule 5, is a new schedule for us. However, none of the items within the schedule are new. They've all been moved here. The policing, fire, and animal control costs were previously part of service agreements and were in the engineering budget. Bylaw enforcement was previously in the planning department. I wish I had the skills to do the blobs that Kumal did. Mine probably will look like stickmen, but it's easier in my mind to just list stuff. We've now highlighted them in their own schedule. This is an area that deserves its own focus. It's important, I think, for the community and for, not just the member community, but the leaseholders also, to recognize how much in resources TFN puts towards community safety and enforcement. So policing and fire are the largest component of this budget, and as I got to this slide, I realize I'm going to get a question later from Legislator Halkamatia about why I don't have a summary of costs at the beginning, so my apologies in advance, Legislator. We will make sure to get that for next year. But the service agreements are based on a formula. They're charged to us by Delta at the same rate that Delta charges its own taxpayers for this service. So it's sort of like the policing and fire costs are covered by Delta residents and TFN residents pro rata. And so as our assessment base grows, our share of the cost for those services increases. So policing costs are up by $300,000 to $2.6 million, and fire costs are up by roughly the same amount to $2.3 million. Bylaw enforcement, the only changes in that budget have been due to COLA and additional training costs. So again, my apologies for not showing all the numbers in one spot, but the increases in this budget are very much formula driven and not really translated into additional staffing or any of that on our side. This Squeakle-CM, that is it for the presentation. Very short and sweet, unlike the size of the budget. Happy to answer any questions from legislators.
Heitke, Mark, for your presentation. I'll leave it to you to work it out with Legislature Halkamatia to make sure that you have those numbers and summaries for her. I now open up the floor and invite legislators for any questions that they might have regarding this schedule for Mark. Legislator Tehuilam, Bryce Williams.
Heitke Isaac for the Feather, Heitke Squeakle-CM, and Heitke Mark for the presentation. Curious on the police cost increase by 300K and where that's reflected. Is there been an increase to service calls or service in general? I don't know. Does it reflect more officers in patrols and things like that? I think I might have another part of the question, but I'll leave it at that for now. Heichka.
Heichka Legislator Mark.
Heichka Squeakle CM, Heichka Isaac, and Heichka for the question. Legislator Tequila. No, it doesn't really reflect an increase in the service number of officers at this point. The way that the policing and fire are actually configured, the servicing the number of officers is meant to be able to service the broad population across both Delta and TFN, and we just pay our share of the costs as our residences, our assessments grow. So as we get more residential taxpayers and more industrial taxpayers, our share of the costs go up. If we need more services, then that's something that's discussed during the regular meetings that Executive Council would have with the police department leadership and the fire department leadership. Heichka Squeakle.
Heichka, Mark, so is a per capita type formula, and then they assess it annually based on the growth of our population and our leaseholder population combined?
Squeakle CM, thank you. It's not per capita, it's per assessment. So as our taxable assessments go up, typically that means we've got more residents or more areas to police, like more warehousing or whatever. So as our taxable assessments go up, our costs go up.
Heichka, for that clarification on how they formulate those costs. So with the increase of our assessment base, we are now seeing an increase of that cost. Tequilam, does that answer your question in the way that you were hoping it would? Heichka. Any other questions from legislators? Legislature Sultanat, Loretta Williams.
Heichka for the feather, Heichka Squeakle, and Val's favorite man. So sorry. With our local, like our police right across the road from us, is that included in this budget or is it in a different budget? Okay, Heichka. And how many do we have stationed here? Thanks.
Thank you, Legislator Mark.
Heichka Squeakle CM, Heichka Isaac, and Heichka Legislator Sultanat. I figured as the law she would know. But it covers all of the staff that are here too. We pay our share of the overall costs because if there are special investigations or things like that that need more resources than just the staff here, we have full access to that. And my understanding is, and I could be off, but looking over at my colleagues, I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 officers. But I wouldn't stake my life on that. Heichka Squeakle CM.
Heichka, thank you for the question, Legislator, and thank you, Mark, for responding. Legislator Luquillia, Tia Williams.
Heichka Squeakle and Heichka Isaac. This might be a question for a different schedule, but it's regarding the police and bylaw. Do all of these folks go through cultural safety training? Because I know that is a big component of overseeing our community and the different issues that arise. So Yeah, perhaps it's a question for another day, but I think that's it. Thanks.
Hachka Legislature, a really good question that we raise time and time again, making sure that our law enforcement are learning and are in order to understand our culture and our people. Mark?
Hachka Squeakle CM and Hachka Isaac for the feather, Hachka for the question. Legislator Lukolia. I do know that TFN put every member of the Delta Police Department through cultural training. That doesn't mean that everyone who's currently a member has been trained, because there's been some turnover since then and new hiring, but we're working with them to try and ensure that everyone goes through cultural assessment training on a regular basis.
Hachka, thank you so very much. I heard the voice at this table, how important it is for our law enforcement. I think that Executive Council has also heard that message, and will be relaying that to staff, that it's really important that new officers, it doesn't matter how much changeover, that they must be part of that training, and they must be connected to the community. Hachka. Any other questions from legislators? Legislator Halkamatia, Louison, I hope that you had some time to get something to eat and regroup and shift gears into the legislative work.
High school CM and high school for the feathers, Isaac. Yeah, my apologies for being late tonight. I was in another meeting that went late. Mark, you're being kind of hard on yourself. See, I wanted transparency, and you got most of the bulk of the numbers for the budget in your presentation, even though it's not in graph form. You only were missing like just over 500,000 on the last item, so that's so I'm okay. Most of the transparency's there, and I'm good. Hachka
Halkamatia. I understand that, I think that Crystal had mentioned before about the training, that we would like the funding to be provided by the police force for that training. I understand we're going to be getting some funding as well. We're going to be working on that as well to make sure that the law enforcement are part of a very rigorous training program to ensure that they are aware of cultural safety protocols and who the Tsawwassen people are and the history of us. So thank you. Invite any other legislators for a question. Legislature of Paliquia, Don Williams.
Hachka Squeakle Sam, Hachka Isaac for the feather. Just a couple comments regarding the cultural training. We did have, in addition to that, it's nice to have the presence of Delta Fire and the police in our community. We had the fire department out today doing a barbecue at the Elders Lunch, and it was very nice to have them. And we've had DPD there. And, in addition to that, we have, their presence at Indigenous Peoples Day or some of our awareness walks. And I think that's a big part of the interaction between them and the community. It's greatly appreciated. Hachka.
Hachka Paliquia for sharing those comments. I agree. The more involved they are, the more the relationship is building. But my second comment is what? The fire department was here at lunch and I missed out on that? Any further questions from any legislator regarding this schedule? Thank you, legislators, for your questions. Thank you, Mark, for your presentation and for answering the questions that were presented to you. I'd now like to read the motion to move Schedule 5 to third reading, and then I will ask for a mover and a seconder and call for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 5, the Community Safety and Enforcement Schedule, to Bill 001-2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. Whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 5, the Community Safety and Enforcement Schedule, to third reading. May I have a mover? Legislator Lacolia, Tia Williams, seconder, please. Legislator Marianne Adams. All in favor, please raise your hand high. Thank you, legislators. Motion carried unanimously. Great work. Schedule 11, Member Lands and Municipal Service Schedule Bill 001, 2025, the second reading. We are now ready to move into this reading. And for the last time tonight, I would like to invite Komal up to present Schedule 11 with her bubbles and her the diagrams that has created a little bit of envy for Mark. I love a little of this gentle competition from our directors. That's good. Thank you so very much, Komal. I hand the floor over to you to begin your presentation.
Haichka Squeakle CM and Haichka Isaac. Sorry to disappoint everyone. No more blobs and films. But I'm really hopeful that that all of you have seen the TFN housing video. It's called Love Lives Here, and what better way to capture the sentiment in this community that I'm so privileged to work for. This schedule also makes me a little emotional because I think that this might be the last time I get to present this as we transition to Hail Elim Collective. That might be a different way of presenting that budget, and this was the work that I was hired first to do at TFN. So it makes me a little bit emotional. So this schedule focuses on 2 main components. One is our member facilities, property management, and then, of course, member housing. And overall, you'll see, but even more dramatic increase in the budget. We have year-over-year increase of 83%, and happy to explain that much needed additional investment into our community infrastructure. So for member facilities, it's good that Kevin's still here. I get to blame him a little bit more. This budget includes all of our member facilities like the Cultural Hub, the Longhouse, and of course, Salisalam, our community farm. And there is a 49.4% increase from 2024. A lot of that is from the realignment of certain staff positions that was spread out in different areas, and again, aligning them with the actual work that they do. And then there's an overall increase for the facilities part of 38.7%. Of that, there are 2 major programs in the member facilities section, and the first part is the member facilities that I just mentioned, the upkeep of our member-facing facilities. And there's an 11% increase in the operational budget, in the maintenance budgets of those facilities, as we look at additional facilities such as the Cultural Hub. And then the farm has contributed to a 31% increase year over year. So it used to be a small activity in the budget when we had that little community garden across the street, and now it's its own program. And under the budget, we include expenditures for the core programming of the farm, that is the employees that work on the farm, and for the planning for Salisalam, as well as some of the event expenditures. We've had a very successful end of harvest celebration in the fall. We had 65 members gathered at the Longhouse. And what we heard was that it was so good for our membership to be gathered for a positive cause in the Longhouse, and really feel good about celebrating with our community and sharing the produce that was from our own farm. So that and the Earth Day celebration contribute to the events expenditures. We're also looking at a few new activities, and some of those activities, we've listed the activities for full transparency, but we'll only be actioning those things if we secure the grants that we are applying for. So we want to be careful in spending our collective funds in a cautious manner. So we have the some funds set aside for additional planning of the farm precinct, the area planning, and planning for a new barn. And then we are looking to do more canning and cooking from the additional produce like we did last year. And then we're listing the traditional medicine garden plan as a new activity, but that activity will only be actioned if we receive the funding. So for the programming budget itself, for these things, there is an additional from 227,000 last year, we have a almost 300,000 in budget this year. But I just also wanted to show sort of what that investment brought us in the previous year. In 2023, the farm was able to provide produce for all our programming, and that was 11,000 pounds. And if you went to buy that produce in the free market, it would cost us $36,000. And in 2024, we doubled the farm area, and that helped us get produce worth $65,000. We have around 100 families right now in the Facebook farm group, and we are able to provide, it's a great opportunity for exchange, for building community, sharing recipes, and sharing produce. In 2025, we hope to, we received the food infrastructure grant. It's called the LFIF grant, but I forget the full name of it. But it's, we received around 400,000 in funding that helped us build that greenhouse. And we're very excited to be able to increase our capacity to grow and start earlier. So that is planned for the next year. And then this is the budget for all of the actions for the core programming and for next year. That includes building new garden beds, repairing the old greenhouse. I should report to the legislature that the KPU Farm School that was at the same site has now moved on. And so they have taken all of their equipment, but they've left behind some equipment that they weren't interested in moving over, but we still have some of that old equipment. We need to repair their old greenhouse, for example. We're also starting a couple of new exciting things. We are prepping for egg production on the farm. And we're also looking at, we're training our staff right now for beekeeping and hope to have honey at the farm as well. So just trying to increase community wellness through investment in our farm. And then we'll continue to host our community engagement events on the farm, as well as our guidance comes from the Agricultural Advisory Committee. So this budget increases for some of these items for next year. And then, as I mentioned, the events that are larger and more community building oriented events, the classes that we talked about, and there's a small allocation to sort of start the barn design. We did some community consultation last year and found an interest in creating a space that will help us build on the success of the first part of this programming. We're currently working with students from UBC, School of Community and Regional Planning, and they are looking at other First Nations and other communities that have built successful models that can be scaled up, that not just build community, but also promote economic development around food security. So we are working with that student group to look at long-range planning ideas for future uses. and also looking to create some more partnerships with learning institutions now that KPU has moved on. We also got a lot of interest from our membership on having a traditional medicine garden, and we're hoping that we can try and work with a consultant that has done really good work elsewhere on transplanting medicinal plants, and then work closely with our culture team to work on propagating more knowledge exchange between members and building on that knowledge that we have from our elders on the use of those traditional medicinal plants. But this is something that we are hoping to action once we secure those grants and the project is fully funded. So that is the section on member facilities. Squeakle CM, should I carry on with member housing? Haichka. So coming on to member housing, all of our activities here are centered around all TFN members having a home in all its diverse ways, whether it's rental homes, rent-to-own homes, new home purchases, helping renovate older homes, helping service lands to be able to build homes for future generations. All of that is covered in this budget. And we also coordinate all those services under this department. So some of the major areas for increases in this budget, we have a secondary suite program. So we've received funding from CMHC for 5 additional secondary suites to be built in member homes. So $50,000 for 5 additional units to help accommodate a growing family, a family member in need, and that is funded through our CMHC grant that our staff secured. We also have put aside an additional $5 million in site servicing funding, and we are now with the slowing down of leasehold activity, but there is an increase in member lands development where we are looking at lands being developed to create more housing opportunities for future generations, and our servicing policy provides that support to service those lands to our members, and we've put aside an additional $5 million for that. And then we've heard from our membership that other First Nations receive additional funds through ISK for the pre-construction and home renovation grants. So we've set aside an additional amount in this year's budget to be able to match that amount so that members are not disadvantaged in any way, and that the pre-construction amount and the renovation amount for the grants is the same as other nations. So these are some of the highlights from last year. We completed, of course, our 12 duplexes, bringing housing opportunities to our members, young and old, in a relatively stress-free way. There were 3 additional homes built as well. We had also completed 5 renovations on member-owned homes, and we were able to do 10 extensive renovations on TFN-owned rentals as well. And apart from this, these are just the statistics, but I just want to share some stories behind the statistics. For the first time ever, we have shifted the dial on members living off lands and on lands. So now, as a result of additional housing being built on lands, we are at 50% of our members living on lands and 50% off lands. And that used to be 2/3 and 1/3 at one point, and slowly moving in this direction. Now we're at the 50% mark. And it makes me so happy because that is one of the key motivators of treaty, to be able to bring more members back home. And what a wonderful opportunity to be able to share that. So in doing so, we brought back 44 44 families into TFN rentals. 28 of those were off lands. And that was a total of 114 members, including 35 kids. And we've had 7 newborns at the 36 unit since we completed a year there. We also recently were awarded the First Nations Housing Recognition Award in February. That was presented to TFN at the First Nations Housing Conference. And this award celebrates our community's outstanding achievements in housing construction, administration, leadership, and planning. So happy to share that. And we are continuing to update our housing needs assessment to ensure that we are prepared for the growth and development with young members growing up and forming households and preparing for that need. And part of that is the creation of Helilim Collective, which stands for Housing Collective. The logo you see here was designed by TFN Youth's Lena Bach. And currently, we're in the process of setting up the structure for Helilim Collective. We are looking for expressions of interest from members to be on the board of this entity and searching for an executive director. And really hoping to get better and better in the planning, development, and management of our housing portfolio. We've also done some work in improving our housing policies and supporting our membership, streamlining the site servicing grants, making additional funds available for the turnkey housing projects by securing grants from CMHC's Housing Accelerator Fund. Also, the secondary suites was funded through the CMHC's Housing Accelerator Fund. And we're hoping that we're able to bring the second phase of those duplexes to the membership in the next year. That's part of the reason the Lands Department is currently roaming around like vagabonds in this precinct because we have 3 valuable housing lots where the current Lands Department building is. And so we'll be moving behind the sewage treatment plant in about 4 months. And if legislator Hakamitya says she's never wrong, she said at least 6 months. So I didn't say that, she said it. But we're very excited about building on the success of the first phase of the duplexes and bringing more housing opportunities for our membership. Hajka CM, happy to take any questions.
Hajka Komal for that great presentation, sharing such great successes, providing some statistics about our people coming home, the growth of our community, and that they're having homes to raise their families, whether they're purchasing them or renting them. I'd now like to open the floor and invite legislatures to ask any questions, curiosities, or comments to Comal Legislature. Halkamatia, Louise Alm.
Hajka Squeakle Sam and Hajka for the Feather, Isaac. It's, yeah, the report's really good, and you guys, your department's doing a fantastic job in getting people housed, especially in an environment worldwide where housing's become a shortage. But this always is a burr in my side, how before we used to get the new home construction grant, we used to get the same as everybody else. And now we don't, and it's good. I'm glad. I'm happy to bridge from 40,000 to 71,000. That's the bridge to 31,000. Definitely in support of that. But I'm just wondering why CMHC can justify shorting us 31,000 per household. Hajka.
Hajka for the question, Legislator Komal.
Hajka Squeakle CM, Hajka Isaac, and Hajka Legislator Hakamitya. So the Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but we do receive initially we used to receive the grants directly from ISK, and then they started giving us the amount for the grants from the block funding. So we were keeping the grants at the level at which they were initially funded. We are now receiving additional block funding, so we are able to match the grants that the other nations are receiving. He's nodding, so I think I'm okay. Haichka.
Haichka Koma, Legislator Lekolia, Tia Williams.
Haichka Squeakle and Haichka Isaac. Thank you for your presentation, Kamal. Mostly comments. I really appreciate the community events, and it makes me happy seeing members receiving their produce boxes during the harvesting months. I know I do a little shopping at my mom's when I visit. The canning and cooking classes and other workshops are something that I really hope to be able to attend. And I did have a question about the traditional medicine plan, and I saw that you sort of answered it. And it's a really exciting initiative that, you know, different possibilities of us working with external organizations. Things that come to mind that maybe we don't have that I would like to try is wapato, the indigenous potato. And I know other nations like Katesy have done that, and working with like the Burns Bog Ecological Conservancy area. I know that there's traditional plants that we could work with there and perhaps make something happen. And another was seeing it in print. The majority of members on the housing waitlist now have homes on lands. That's incredible. And that's something I never thought I would see. And I've seen the call for the Halalam Collective Board of Directors. Have you had any interest as of yet? I saw it was just posted, but just curious. So yeah, lots of exciting initiatives taking place and success coming from this work. So congratulations. Thank you.
Haichka Legislature Koma.
Haichka Isaac, Haichka Squeakle CM, and Haichka for the kind words. I will pass on the thought on the potatoes to Nikki and Nicole, who really I want to give a shout out to, who work tirelessly, not just on programming the farm, but really have their finger on the pulse of the community, and they try to plant things that work for people and people enjoy. So I'll certainly pass that on. I don't know what else you said now.
Haichka, perhaps you could give the feather back to Lekolia Isaac, and so she can reiterate her and remind Komal what she needs to respond to. Haichka.
Haichka. It was the Halalam Collective Board of Directors. Have you had any interest yet?
Haichka Lekolia. Komal?
Haichka Isaac, and my apologies, Legislator Lekolia. We have been very fortunate, actually. We just put out the expression of interest a little while ago, and we have 7 expressions of interest from our membership already, so it's really good to see that interest in contributing to the growth of that work for the community. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Sultanat, Loretta Williams. Loretta just sort of raises her chin at me and her eyebrows at the same time, and I can see her peeking over the monitors. And
Okay, Haichka for the feather and Haichka Squeakle. And never mind, I was going to make a comment about myself. But basically, you know, it's a comment, thank you for all of this, and it's great to have our people coming home, but it's just a comment. It would be so great if we could have something other than the members gathering to host a breakfast or a lunch, because there's a lot of new people, they don't know who we are. You know, they don't know who the elders are. And, you know, like, I think we need to do that because there's a lot of people, You know, like, and just like what we do with the staff, you guys come here and identify yourself. So that's just a comment. And in regards to the farm, I think it's great that we have are feeding our people. You know, with the uncertainty in the world, with especially down in the stateside, you know, it's great we're able to do this locally. So now we have to figure out how to grow bananas and oranges, you know, so, but I think that should be it. Thank you.
Hajka Legislature Sultanat Komal, do you have any comments or response?
Hajka Squiggle CM, Hajka Isaac. I'm really hoping that with the Elder Center coming complete, we really have the opportunity for those large gatherings, apart from the members gathering. Hajka.
Thank you so much, Kamal, and thank you, Legislature Sultanat, for those comments. I think that we're in a place where, you know, it's really fills my heart to see us delivering on some of our long-term promises that we sometimes impatiently were waiting for, and patiently at time, and to see that sometimes we're able to deliver on our commitments and our promises sooner, and other times it's taken a long time to get there. I think that the message, though, that I hear is that we get there, and we just have to keep working at it. We have to keep holding each other accountable, lifting each other up, and remember that vision and that dream that we're aspiring to. And so thank you to legislatures for the work that they do, and for staff for fulfilling and listening to and fulfilling those vision that we have been dreaming about for some time. So Komal, your report highlights the realization of so many dreams that we've been long waiting to hear. It didn't click in until I heard Lacolia's voice saying that the waiting list is, you know, all but diminished. And that waiting list has been, in the time that I've been working for the nation, and that's been a long number of years, has been an item of controversy and frustration. And now we've put some clarity and finally some homes to that. So thank you very much for that and for those questions. Are there any more questions from legislators? Legislature Kuyakuya, Andrea Jacobs.
Hajka Squeakle CM. Hajka Komal for that presentation. It's so exciting, and I've really enjoyed listening to other legislators reflect on how far we've come. I too look forward to more gatherings. Our Christmas gathering, there was a lot of people I don't know, and I do, but I don't. I mean, time flies by. So really looking forward to having a place where we can gather. So it's just getting bigger and better. I just wanted to mention something that's just near and dear to me for member housing. You know, we say we want member housing for all TFN members to have a home. I do feel like there is a missing link when it comes to those with disabilities and learning barriers. There is no housing option for these members. Right now it may seem like a lot. As our population grows, we're doing really great and getting somewhere. But I do believe that the need for those with disabilities and learning barriers will grow as well. You know, things happen, and it's just going to happen as our population grows. And I do believe everybody should be treated the same. So a suggestion would be just to look at smaller group homes. Not just for respite or those coming out of treatment, but for those with those kind of barriers who, it would just be nice if all of our members could have a part in this community with dignity, even with their barriers. Hajka Squeakle CM.
Oh, CM Kuyakuya. Thank you so much for raising that point about all of the members and the importance of making sure that they're all respected and have a home. So thank you. Komal, if you wish to respond, please do so. But I think that is some programming that we can take back and work on. Hajka. Komal?
Hajka Isaac and Hajka Squiggle CM, Hajka for the comments. Our housing strategy looks at a number of different things, and one of the important areas of that is to help house vulnerable members of our community. And while we focused on the areas of greatest need, like our rental housing first, and then trying to house young members through the duplexes, that's something that's on our radar. We recently got the grant to build a support home that I forgot to mention in my presentation, that's ready now, that was fully funded through a CMHC grant. We are now looking at grants for youth transitioning to independent living that needs some supports, and that's not a post-treatment facility, but just helping youth transition to independent living that need a supportive environment. So that's certainly something that it's on our horizon, while we don't have it in our budget or in our capital plan at this stage. We're very fortunate to have a housing team that constantly looks out for funding opportunities and does not lose sight of the various points along the housing continuum, making sure that every member's needs are met. So yeah, it's something that we are looking at, and thank you for bringing that forward, Hajka.
Hajka Komal, Kwekwa, excellent. Legislator Pelihua, Don Williams.
Hajka Squeaklesiam, Hajka Isaac for the Feather. I just wanted to say that I've heard from a lot of members and nothing but good feedback on the farm and the housing programs. The amount of people accessing the food and produce and housing, it's just really amazing, and you guys have done an amazing job. One question I had about the traditional medicine plan, is that something that's going to be implemented at the farm? And also, I think this is really good. We have a lot of concern over the foreshore and traditional medicine out there. But part of that concern too is a lot of invasive plants that have taken over on the foreshore. A lot of growth out there that never was out there before. And it's just kind of suffocating our traditional medicines out there. So to protect that is one thing, but to also have this traditional medicine plan at the farm would be really amazing as well. Hajka.
Hajka Pelihua Komal.
Hajka Isaac, Hajka Squeaklesiam, and Hajka for the positive comments. Grateful for that. We worked with our Agriculture Advisory Committee and the consultant last year to look at a concept plan for the farm, and that includes having a water feature where there currently was water on the farm, and doing a medicinal garden centered around that. And that was based on the feedback from elders on that committee and some community consultation that was conducted during those events at the farm. So we are looking to develop that at the farm itself, because we recognize the threat to the foreshore with the changing environment. We're cautious because we know that in the past there have been attempts to transplant those, and that did not work out. So we will have to work with people that are knowledgeable in being able to do that work carefully in a good way. And we really hope to be able to propagate those native species in a different environment. And that's part of our plan for next year. Hajka.
Hajka. Any last questions? Thank you, Komal, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you, legislatures, for all your questions, your comments, and your praise for the good work that is happening, and the ideas for some for continued work and some important improvements as well. I'd now like to read the motion to move this schedule to third reading. call for a mover, and then I'll call for a seconder, and then I will call for a vote. Motion to move Schedule 11, the Members' Land and Municipal Services Schedule of Bill 001, 2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Tsawwassen Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001, 2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 11, the Members' Lands and Municipal Services Schedule, to third reading. May I please have a mover? Legislature Tequilum, Bryce Williams. May I have a seconder? Legislature Pelihua, Don Williams. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you, Legislature. Motion carried unanimously. Boom. All done. That's a lot of talking for me tonight, and I like to talk, so that's a surprise if I'm feeling a little tired out on that. Thank you very much, legislatures, for all of the different discussions that we've had, your hard work to get things moving forward through tonight. I don't know if you're interested in where we are with the Canucks. Has any of you recorded the game and don't want to have any spoiler alerts? All right, third period. 2-2. Oh, you all know already. Overtime. All right, thank you. I know that sometimes it's unfortunate that our scheduling conflicts with our Canucks fun. Legislature Halkamatia, where's Isaac? There we go.
Just a hockey correction. That's Canada against U.S. That is not
Oh,
Canucks.
thank you.
I'm
clearly not a Canucks or a hockey fan, so my apologies to the hockey fans. What is it they do? That they get a basket every time they. Just kidding. All right, just a couple announcements that I'd like to share with you before we do our final wrap up. Reminder that. On February 26th at 5 p.m., there's an anti-bullying workshop at the Youth Center. And members can pick up their t-shirts tomorrow from 1 to 3 at the Rec Center. So that's February 26th, 2025, 5 p.m. at the Youth Center, the anti-bullying workshop. Also, a reminder that on March 8th, International Women's Day, Jessica Adams will be hosting a gathering. Please check the notice for the community notice for more details, and that is March 8th, International Women's Day. Also, just to let you know that March 2nd, the smokehouse will be swept. The table will be set at 4:30 and one piece of work to follow. That is March 2nd. There will be a smokehouse sweep, table set at 4:30 with one piece of work to follow. And those are the announcements that I have. Thank you again, legislatures. Oh, another final announcement is that I will be heading to Ottawa. I think Twyla made an announcement during one of her presentations for the Land Claims Agreement Coalition. I'll be traveling with some other staff and Chief Cassidy and our CAO to be participating and presenting and representing our nation at the Land Claims Coalition Agreement. I will not be here present, and I have asked respected Kiwiakwia, Andrea Jacobs, to be the squeak wolf for Tuesday, and she has respectfully and kindly agreed. And I've also asked my other cousin, Tequilum, Bryce Williams, to be the squeak wolf for Thursday. I'm really so grateful that and honored that they are supporting me in this. I know that you will be in good hands leading through the discussion and debate on those days. While I might try to listen and observe, the time change does make things a little more challenging on there. Taylor, I don't know, you'll be, depending when your stuff is, I think you'll still be here because you'll be presenting as a keynote speaker at the Land Claims Agreement Coalition. I'm very proud of you and that representation. We have a great representation at this Land Claims Agreement Coalition. Tsawwassen is in the house and will be there having some good presence for this. So thank you so much for your support in doing this Squeakquel work. I take this work very seriously, and I do my best to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to share their voice. I know that sometimes we have a few hiccups here and there. I thank you for your patience and your tolerance as we continue to grow and learn to manage our work at this table. Thank you for the privilege of being your Squeakquel. There will now be a I just want to also, extend thank you to Jessica Adams for the opening prayer and sharing the language, for Squaxwanson, Victoria, for blessing our table, for Wapio and Kwikwemasat for drumming us in, and for Isaac for coming here to be our feather runner. And sort of supporting us in this work. He is a seasoned pro at this work now, and we were in good hands all night long. Thanking again for Ramsey's Catering, for serving us this delicious meal and gaining more experience supporting us and feeding us. Much gratitude to the elders, continued gratitude to the Advisory Council. It's a lot of time to be present here and then meeting at the late night for the advisory meetings and giving feedback to all the members that are supporting us in person and online, our staff that are here tonight away from their families supporting us. We really do appreciate all the work that goes behind the scenes to make it run as seamlessly as possible. To all the guests for attending that are remote as well, we really thank you for being here. This is a reminder that February 26th is the deadline for resolutions next Wednesday. So if you have some things that are important that you would like to have tabled, that you would like your fellow legislators to consider, debate, and vote on, please think about that and connect with staff to help you work with your resolutions so that we can get them uploaded for introduction on the appropriate day. So February 26th is when we would hope for you to submit your interest or your support required for resolutions and letting us know what might be coming down the pipe. There, I think I've finished all of my responsibilities. We are now ready to, this meeting is now adjourned and we're ready to the procession and the ceremonial procession out. Hajka OC.